I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents. We'll find out how to give the word a voice.
In different times in the church's history, in every age, the word has been proclaimed with a different voice.
Are you dreaming of a bright Christmas? A Brooklyn institution aims at making it merry for local children.
We redistributed those funds directly into the hands of priests and people on the local scene to buy Christmas gifts for children at Christmas time.
And lessons in preparation at a Christmas celebration.
It's a really great way to prepare spiritually for the coming of our Lord.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We told you on Friday about an unprecedented effort in the Brooklyn Diocese to examine the church's resources and to determine how to best reach the communities of the Brooklyn Diocese.
And one of the things that will be looked at is how the media can be utilized. And that's something the Paulists have been using to great effect since Isaac Hecker founded that religious order in the mid-19th century.
Indeed, they have. From public speaking to print journalism, finally to broadcasting, the Paulists have been spreading the church's message with mass media. I paid them a visit earlier on in the year. You remember my guest spot on the Busted Halo podcast.
Well, last night we also had a chance to catch up with one of the hosts of Busted Halo, your sort of second home, Father Dave Dwyer, as he gave a talk to a group of young people at St. Paul the Apostle Church in Midtown Manhattan.
Father Dave's so cool, too. I like it. The subject of Father Dave's talk is bridging the gap between the gospel message and pop culture.
We're seeking something. So if we can connect a seeker with what we believe is God's truth, then, and we can do it this way, then that's, I believe, what Father Hecker was about, and certainly what St. Paul. I think people turn out for discussions like this because we would like to get a handle on what it means to say that I'm a Catholic in my everyday life.
I think this is a group of 20 to 30-year-olds that wanted to, are very much a part of this church and, wanted to hear what Father Dwyer had to say.
I think that there's no question that there's a million things these days that compete for people's attention. But, I think that if you're getting out the word properly, people are willing to listen.
But he was trying to find a way to speak it that they would get it. And I believe that's what Father Hecker means. That in every age of the church, it has its own characteristic form of expression. I would say one of the things we do by getting together like this is we are community. There's a lot of ways in which we can talk about community in the digital age where we don't actually do what's happening right now behind me, which is people talking, people getting together, people knowing each other, able to look in each other's eyes and then say, hey, I can get to know you a bit. And that's really what Jesus did when he first began his ministry, was he gathered people around him, they got together, and they got to know him.
I think something just very simple is that I really hadn't reached out on the internet to see any of these resources that I heard about today. I didn't know anything about bustedhalo.com. I didn't know about any of these podcasts and things, and I really think that that's an excellent way for me to experience religion every day and also get some of my questions answered.
I think in different times in the church's history, in every age, as Father Hecker would say, the word has been proclaimed with a different voice, and sometimes at the same time with many different voices. I think because God is so infinite and so diverse, there has to be a lot of different ways in which people who are not as diverse as God can come in contact with the word. So that's why the way in which the Paulists give the word a voice is different and unique and distinct from the way in which Jesuits or Franciscans or diocesan priests or lay people who are working at their jobs and in their families are giving the word a voice in their life.
There's other ways that we can bring people in, and I think that the two are separate and fulfill different enough needs for people that it doesn't drown it out. Even if there's popular culture, even if there's all this ridiculous music, people still have a spiritual need.
Well, there's more current straight ahead when we return. The day's headlines, including a priest friend of Rudy Giuliani cleared of sex abuse charges.
And the Pope's Christmas tree may just give the one at Rockefeller Center a run for its money. back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up in just a bit, celebrating the season with some future priests.
But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. The UN Climate Change Summit got underway today in Copenhagen, Denmark, and world religious groups are taking an active part in the debate. Among religious leaders in attendance are the Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams. He's the head of the Anglican Church. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, representatives from the National Council of Churches, and a former official with the National Association of Evangelicals. The Vatican has also sent a commission to the summit. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says religious leaders can have the largest and widest and deepest reach in affecting the outcome of the summit. Well, the first ever ambassador from America to the Vatican has died. William A. Wilson was appointed to the post by President Reagan in 1984. Wilson was a businessman, a rancher, and a Catholic convert. He died Saturday at his California home. He was 95 years old. A Long Island priest and close friend of Rudy Giuliani has been found not guilty of sex abuse. Reports say Monsignor Alan Plaka was the point man on sexual abuse cases for the Diocese of Rockville Center until 2002, when he was then accused of molesting a teenager in 1975. Monsignor Plaka was best man at Giuliani's first wedding, officiated at his second wedding, and celebrated his mother's funeral mass. Monsignor Plaka's accuser says that he stands by the charges.
The president of Vietnam will visit with the Pope Benedict, at the Vatican later on this week. The visit comes amid concerns over the Vietnamese government's alleged mistreatment of Catholics over the years. Earlier this year, 18 people were arrested after they built a makeshift chapel on the site of a church destroyed during the Vietnam War. Vietnam's foreign policy minister says the goal of the visit is to strengthen relations between the country and the Vatican. The two countries do not have official diplomatic ties. Last week, there was the annual lighting of the tree in Rockefeller Center, and we also showed you how one Brooklyn parish celebrated the lighting of a huge tree of its own. Now, the Vatican is getting into the act as well, as we hear from Rome Reports.
It's starting to look a lot like Christmas at St. Peter's Square. With the construction of the nativity scene and this newly arrived Christmas tree, almost everything is in place for the big celebration. The tree, which is 27 meters high and weighs 6 tons, was cut down on November 23rd, and it's a gift from the city of Spa in Belgium to the Pope. The list of cities who want to donate a Christmas tree to the Vatican is a long one.
We turned in our application 4 or 5 years ago to decorate St. Peter's Square this year, since each year many regions from all over Europe apply to offer a Christmas tree to the Pope.
This special gift will be decorated over the next couple of days with thousands of lights and ornaments. But the public won't be able to admire its beauty until mid-December. The first time a Christmas tree was part of a nativity scene at the Vatican was back in 1982. It was one of John Paul II's wishes for the two main symbols that represent this holiday to adorn St. Peter's Square.
Well, it's going to be beautiful. My Christmas tree weighs a lot less than 6 tons.
Do you have one up already?
I have one. It's an artificial tree. It's like, one of the little 4 feet ones. They were on sale.
Yeah, that's good.
So.
No, all my Christmas stuff is at home. I have this gorgeous little hand-carved creche. It was made in Armenia, I believe, and
yeah.
I love that. And I have all these nice decorations, but they're all in Boston. So I'm hoping to make a trip over there to bring them to my new place here in New York.
Hopefully you can.
Yeah, or I can just come over to your house.
Right. Stay tuned. Much more Currents coming up straight ahead. Coming up, a local effort to make it a bright Christmas for children in this season of giving.
The response has been tremendous. The last couple of years, we've actually received over $100,000 in donations.
Welcome back. Well, the stores are getting more crowded. The lines at the post office getting longer. The countdown has begun. Only 18 more days until Christmas.
This is such a crazy season. Yikes. I mean, if that has you panicked or depressed, don't worry though. There are some alternative ways to make the holiday have more meaning and make the meaning last all year long. Sounds good, right? We're starting a special series devoted to alternative gifts, and we're starting close to home.
That's right. Our own Natalia Ortiz sat down with tablet editor Ed Wilkinson to talk about a Brooklyn institution, the Bright Christmas Campaign.
So Ed, tell me a little bit about the Bright Christmas Campaign. I've read that it's been around for 40 years and the tablet is in charge of doing it. What is it about and what do you want people to know about it?
Sure. The tablet's Bright Christmas Campaign began over 40 years ago, as you said, and it was really to meet specific needs of poverty here in the Diocese of Brooklyn. The tablet people decided that there was a lot of poverty in Brooklyn and Queens at that time. You know, this was a time when there was the war on poverty, things like that that were very current. And we saw a lot of kids who needed some help at Christmas time.
Right.
And so we just, you know, we wrote about them.
Okay.
And we asked our readers to send in some donations. And then we redistributed those funds directly into the hands of priests and people on the local scene to buy Christmas gifts for children at Christmas time. And it's the same thing we do today. It's a very simple format.
Okay.
We ask for money, they send us money, and we send it back out. And it all goes directly back into you know, Christmas gifts for kids.
So they're all Christmas gifts for kids, but I was also reading that with the economy the way it's going, sometimes even gifts, you know, are not not the most appropriate, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that they're not the most needed at this moment.
Right.
So perhaps sweaters and clothes
exactly.
and
when
things like
I
this.
say gifts, you know, we'll send the money to a pastor or a priest or somebody who leads a group, and we tell them you can use the money whatever way you want to use it, as long as it's for kids at Christmas time. And someone will write back and tell me they needed jackets, they needed sweaters, they needed hats for the winter. Sometimes they needed food at Christmas time. And so whatever they want to do with the money, that's fine with us. Our only stipulation is that you brighten up Christmas for some kids here in Brooklyn and Queens.
So it's not necessarily then toys, it's anything that they would need.
No.
And what is the response from people, from the diocese, from parishioners? What have you noticed? Are there trends that you've noticed?
The response has been tremendous. The last couple of years, we've actually received over $100,000 in donations. And they come, I was sitting there opening some of the envelopes the other day, and there'll be checks for $100. There'll be checks for $2. Somebody will send in $2 bills in an envelope and say I'm on fixed income. One lady wrote to me and said she had lost her job this year.
Oh, wow.
But she still wanted to help because she knew other people had greater needs than she did.
Right.
And so I said, you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
You know? So we get all kinds of donations like that. A check came for $1,500 the other day. I mean, that's tremendous.
Wow.
But honestly, the $1 donations, the $2 donations, they mean just as much to us as that $1,500.
Well, it all counts. It all adds up in the end. And I guess it's also when it comes from the heart like that, like you said, people who are in dire circumstances give, and it probably means more that $1 that person gave than the other money that.
And I always tell people, I say tablet readers are the most generous people in the diocese, you know, because I think they're informed, they know what's going on, and they're responding to a specific need. They really want to help. So they've been wonderful.
So what kinds of things, are there programs that also the funds go towards? In other words, I don't know, I was reading something about catechism classes in certain parishes that benefit from this as well, is that?
Yeah, the local pastor can use the money for any particular group in the parish, but there's a sister who wrote to me from East New York, from a parish. She has a catechetical group, and she needed some funds. I sent her some money. There are some Catholic charities, daycare centers. They have Bright Christmas parties. We try to finance them. There are all different kinds of groups. There are other programs run by Catholic charities that we send funds to, and others that are run by sisters groups. And so it's not just parishes, but the bulk of it goes to parishes. But it's always a connection here to the diocese here in Brooklyn and Queens.
Okay, and so it's primarily for children?
Yes, we ask it just for children. You know, it's specifically for children at Christmas time.
What is the response from the children? Do you get to see the faces of these children at the end of the day when they get the funds or when they receive the gifts?
We usually do not. Although a couple of years ago we did go to a couple of parties, you know, and that was amazing to see the children and to see. I mean, they don't know who we are. They don't know where the money's coming from, you know. But these are little kids, little tots in daycare centers, and their faces would just light up when we brought Santa Claus in, and you know, we take some photos, and it was very gratifying to see it. But normally we don't see it. You know, we know the money's being used in a good way. And we rely on people to send us, you know, by word of mouth or by letters, how they use the money.
So quickly tell me, how can the audience or anybody that's watching right now contribute and help the Bright Christmas campaign?
Anybody, all they have to do is just write out a check to the Tablets Bright Christmas and send it to us at 310 Prospect Park West. And I would ask them not to wait for a letter of solicitation, because we have cut back on our mailings this year. If you want to help us out, just send us a check to Bright Christmas.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate you coming over to Currents and sharing this with us.
Good to see you, Natalia.
Thank you.
A great way to brighten up Christmas for some well-deserving kids.
It's always nice when you can give something to people that maybe aren't expecting it, but they need it. And I know I was in Florida last year. I was anchoring for the ABC station down there in Pensacola, and in about like a week or 10 days, I put together this Toys for Tots party. Didn't know how many people were going to come. Ended up with 3 truckloads of toys.
It's amazing, because the season of Christmas, I mean, you know, we talk about so often the craziness around shopping and things like that, and how sometimes I guess the commercialism of Christmas and all that brings out kind of the worst in people. Well, the season can also, when it's focused, when your energy's focused in the right place, can bring out the best in people as well. And that's a clear example of it there. And of course, the generosity, like the person who gave $1,500 to the Bright Christmas campaign just a couple of days ago. It's an amazing thing. So
it is.
Give if you can.
You will make someone smile. Well, tomorrow we'll hear from a Sister of Mercy who is selling Christmas cards with a powerful pro-life message. But you might actually be surprised at who's creating them. That is coming up tomorrow. But for now, stay with us as Currents continues. Coming up, a time for music and a time for lessons. We'll take you to a special Christmas service.
Hearing all the wonderful instruments and the different voices sing together is such a great way of thanking God for all that He does for us.
In this year for priests, some future priests are getting into the musical spirit of the season.
Right, you are. Last night, seminarians in Douglaston hosted a Lessons and Carols service at the seminary. Take a look and give a listen.
The season of Advent is a time of preparation for the coming of our Lord at Christmas, and so Lessons and Carols is a way where through scripture reading and different carols and hymns, people can prepare and get ready for Christmas. Lessons and Carols started, I believe, in England. I'm not sure how many centuries ago. And really, it was always a way to prepare for Christmas through scripture sharing and through different hymns. And so we've just brought it back here, and now we're doing it every year. And it's a really great way to prepare spiritually for the coming of our Lord. The words of some of the hymns are just so uplifting and joyous that just hearing that and hearing all the wonderful instruments and the different voices sing together is such a great way of giving praise to God and thanking people for thanking God for all that He does for us.
I thought it was good. It was really nice, the bells and everything.
It's really just very beautiful and prayerful. All the pieces were just well put together. You know, I couldn't say, oh, this one was much better than the other one. They were all just flowed so beautifully, one built on the other. It just made a beautiful masterpiece.
It was well done. They tried very hard. They was practicing for a long time. and did a good job.
I thought it was very angelic, very well put together, very well organized, and it sounded great.
I want to say thanks to Monsignor Thalen, our rector, who not only allows this to happen, but actually took part and sang with us this year. It was great to have him. Lisa Kelly is the best. She's taught me how to play the organ. She's taught me so much about singing, and I've learned so much from her. And I want to thank them for their help and their support.
It's one of my favorite sounds ever as a handbell choir.
Yeah, that was great. I love that. It sounds so Christmassy.
It does. We used to do that when I was a kid. I was actually in handbell choir, got started in that. And then it's like, I guess when I was probably about 12 or 13, it kind of faded out, and we didn't do it in my church anymore. And I've missed it. So it like takes me back to my childhood. It's great.
Yeah, you would be right to sing along with all of them too. You have a nice voice, and I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful service too. I always love lessons and carols. It's like one of the best times of year for me. It really kind of is just beautiful.
Do you go caroling ever anywhere?
I used to a lot, and actually, a funny story about that. We used to go caroling every year with my church when I was growing up. My very first job that I had, I was working at a store which shall remain nameless because it's a big chain. But I was working there as a cashier, and my parents and a big group from my church came caroling to me while I was behind the cash register working at this place.
Showing some support, showing some love.
Yeah, and embarrassing me really
Christmas
too at the
cheer.
same time.
Oh, right,
but you know, because I was 16 at the time, I'm embarrassed by anything my parents do at that point. But no, it was great. It was a wonderful thing.
Nice.
Well, that's it for this edition of Currents. Now, coming up tomorrow, happy birthday to us. Net marks its 1-year anniversary. We'll take a look back and a look ahead.
And remember, you can always catch us online at currentsny.net. And also, you can become our friend on Facebook. We almost have 1,000 of them now, and of you, I should say.
Yes.
Just visit facebook.com/currentsny. And we give you there all the latest news, and we keep you posted on what we're doing and post our videos.
And until next time, no, thanks for watching. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Have a great night.